Liberation greetings to all and sundry, my dear people of Ambazonia, my fellow brave warriors of the Southern Cameroon's liberation movement. Accept greetings from me today. Today is Thursday, and this Thursday is June 8th, 2023. Today, I want us to talk about an issue that has really, been troubling my mind for a while. Because much as I think we are all determined to overcome in this liberation movement, there are certain things, certain issues we must address together and address frankly if we have to attain our objective. And this issue really has to do with the relation between our people on ground zero and those in the diaspora. I say this because there's a lot of misconception. I say so because there's this kind of attitude that you have from our people on ground zero when they're talking about our compatriots in the diaspora. There may be a few bad seeds in the diaspora, just as there are too on ground zero. Of course, when we're talking about black legs, the prevalence of black legs most is not generally in the diaspora. It's basically true on ground zero. We've had our own fair share of black legs in the diaspora that have muddied the waters, that have made things complicated. But the same as you have a lot of black legs on ground zero that have decided even to turn around and cause harm to our people in order to please La République du Cameroun, in order to give La République du Cameroun images and sound bites that they will be able to use at the level of the international community to say that our liberation movement is a scam. But the one thing I really can't swallow is that people, able bodied people, who are intellectually armed to understand exactly what it takes to fight against a system whose favorite sport is corruption, whose favorite sport is manipulation, fighting against a system that doesn't care about human life, that is ready to sacrifice everybody to attain their objective. And when you have the capacity to understand all this, and then you reason like someone who has not even been to school, it hurts me. It doesn't hurt only me, it hurts all of us. Early today, I broadcast a video that I put it on my channel on this particular platform. If you haven't watched it, go back to this platform and look at the video that was uploaded today with a young girl who says she's from Balinyonga. You get her testimony about what happened, how the Cameroon military shot a baby, her baby, strapped to her back as she was struggling to run for safety because the soldiers stormed the entire village and they were looking for all males, every single male to kill. And her husband had to escape. She was heavily pregnant. Watch that video. I'm sure those of you who have already watched, you still have tears running down your cheeks. And to imagine that upon all of that, someone on ground zero will send me this message after watching my last outing. He said, "You guys have deceived people enough, my dear friend. No rightful thinking person will fall again for this scam." And what is this person referring to as scam? Referring to our liberation movement, to our collective quest for freedom as a scam. And it says a fight with 1,000 leaders who have drifted from the substance and now engaged in power tussle, and the fight for money is a scam. Listen, people, nobody should make any mistake here. Our liberation movement is not different from others that have happened before us. It is because ours is operating in the age of the social media, where the citizen journalist is even more powerful than the traditional journalist. That is the era in which our own liberation movement is happening. This is why it's easy for someone to misconstrue and think that what is happening within the Ambazonian liberation movement has never happened elsewhere. That is why it took me time to come back here, because I wanted to come here and let us all examine and recognize for ourselves that sometimes we even commit excesses in our speeches. We commit excesses in our thoughts. Sometimes, because of our thought pattern, we will end up staying in bondage forever. I talked to people in Eritrea, and they made it clear that the number of black legs that existed within the Eritrean liberation movement was unimaginable. They were dealt with systematically, but silently. Nobody even heard, nobody knew. I've never been an advocate of the fact that because one is a black leg, that person's life should be taken away. I've always said they should find ways of being able to correct this. But I was talking here to an Eritrean who said they might even have had more black legs than we have in the southern Cameroons, in Ambazonia. But the people were systematically dealt with because they found ways of being able to handle them one way or the other to make sure they will not be an obstacle for the freedom of the people. I talked with people in East Timor, and they let me know this, that with the situation in East Timor, the black legs were even so strong to the point where they caused the East Timorians to fail the first time. And when they failed the first time, the treatment from Indonesia that now looked down on them as a conquered people was so unimaginable that they decided that they were better going to commit collective suicide. The reason they went in for the second time, but this time with the strength of thousands upon thousands of wounded lions. And that is how tiny East Timor was able to force the government of Eritrea, of Indonesia, force the president of Indonesia to be the one to call Mr. Kofi Annan, Secretary General of the United Nations, to go organize a referendum in East Timor. Why? Because the handful of elite that manipulated young people in East Timor to form teams, to form armed groups that turned against the people, to cause the people to hate their own freedom, gave the impression to the Indonesian government that the majority of the people wanted to stay with Indonesia, and that those who were creating trouble were few, a few set of people, some hiding in the diaspora, some hiding somewhere, who were just muddying the waters. And that is why, with so much confidence and belief that Indonesia was going to pull it, the president of Indonesia called on the Secretary General of the United Nations for the United Nations to organize a free, fair, and transparent referendum in East Timor. And of course, we all know the result. The Indonesians realized for themselves that that handful of elite and black legs who were telling them that the people really want to stay with Indonesia were the real enemy, were the real problem. And that is why the Indonesian government did not hesitate to gather all these people, those so-called elite and black legs, and go push them into the borders with East Timor. The people wanted to take Indonesian nationality, to run away from their ugly past, to run away from the horrible things they did to their own people. But the Indonesian government never let them. So therefore, the things that we're seeing on ground zero in Ambazonia happened elsewhere. It happened in Eritrea, happened in Indonesia. I reached out to people in South Sudan and they said it was even worse. So what you need to know is that right on the ground in ground zero, and I said this way back in 2018, that the so-called elite had a meeting, especially those from the southern zone. They had a meeting at the home of Tanyim Daniel Clarkson at a level in Yaoundé. And the intention of that meeting was to set up rival armed groups that will go to the ground and commit exactions but on the people. Turn but on the people. Become so violent on the people and cause the people to hate anyone involved with this liberation movement. So that at the end of the day, it should become that this liberation movement is a bad thing, that La République du Cameroon were better than Ambazonia. That is the picture that they had to create in the minds of the people. And of course, they didn't waste time in swinging into action. I warned, but sometimes we didn't pay attention because we had gotten so divided to the point where we told ourselves that I don't like the messenger, I will not care even about the message. And we lost out on this. That's why you have people having this kind of thought pattern. That's why you have people having this kind of imagination that, as a matter of fact, Ambazonians, for the most part, really hate themselves. They just want to cause harm to the people on ground zero, which is not true. Because why do you have some of those ones, some of those so-called Amber boys, who have specialized in kidnapping for ransom, specialized in extorting from people, specialized in holding in organizing road checkpoints and all of those things. Those ones scarcely fight. But you have those ones who know what they are in here for. We see them act every day. We have heard what they have been doing in Ekondo Titi just few hours ago. What they are doing in Bamenda few hours ago. What they are doing in Boyo. What they are doing in Bonge. What they are doing in Bui. What they are doing in Menchum. What they are doing, in Mezam, everywhere. What they are doing in Manu, in Meme. My people of Ambazonia, I'd like us to know this. The bad grain will be introduced so that it should cause you to destroy the entire farm. That's why when you have your product on the farm and you say, the bad grass has grown in to destroy the wheat. If you are not a careful person, you're not a careful farmer, you hate even the good grain. You destroy even the entire good grain because you think that that's the only way you get rid of the bad grain. And oppressors know this. That is why they will want to transform the liberators to seem more than the oppressor, to seem worse than the oppressor, so that you hate your own freedom. And so this brother writes, people's children are killed here daily, and you guys keep dreaming. The very people you groomed to fight for the so-called liberation have turned against their own. Kidnappings and ransom taking is the order of the day. We all watched, or we have been watching with awe, and I'll still bring that video here. I know you have watched it. How Mr. Tambetiku has got policemen, La République du Cameroon gendarmes, soldiers, extorting from our people in huge sums. You don't see that. You heard it in the news. How they got to Batibo, to Ashong, my own village, captured over 60 boys just because they are men. Like you heard that young girl in that video say, the young girl from Balinyunga, just because they are men. And either you pay 500,000 and buy your freedom, or you are declared an Amber supporter or an Amber fighter, and you are sent to the dungeons in La République du Cameroun, where you will be tortured, sometimes even to death. You don't see this. You don't see this as the exactions of La République du Cameroun. No, you are looking but at the people in the diaspora. And he lands exactly where I thought he would as he was writing and going. And he says, the only thing you people can do to save the face of the struggle is that you all should come back home and fight from here. Now, let me get into this, because this is what I want to get to. My people of Ambazonia, there are certain things that we need to understand. There are certain things we need to comprehend. Some truths that are, sometimes they could be raw, but it makes a lot of sense to tell this truth. It's just so much sense. Take a look at this. Unfortunately, it's not coming on my screen. I hope it should be able to come on. Let's try again. Okay. It's not coming. No problem. I'm going to be able to try to work with the technical department to get this particular. Okay, here we go. So the slide finally comes with some delays. So it says, peace is not when everyone agrees. It is when we can respect our disagreements and still play in the sandbox together. So therefore, what I'm trying to say, just take a look at it again carefully. Among us as Ambazonians, we can have disagreements. We can feel that, oh, this approach is not the best. The other approach might have been better. But then there is a thing we can do. That thing that we can do is that we will condemn things that are not right. We will disagree on the approach each person is bringing. But at the same time, we understand that we need to operate from the same sandbox together. The reason I'm bringing this here is because when this brother writes this kind of thing, you see, my understanding is that he bears in mind that the people in the diaspora have become so much of a harm that they are the ones rather that need to be out of the way, and not La République du Cameroun. We in the diaspora are rather the problem and not La République du Cameroun. Let me be very clear here. When you say you people should all come over, of course, this is the language of the oppressor. Everybody should come over because they know the meaning of everybody coming over. Look here. We talk about this diaspora. Do you agree with me that a good lot of these people who are in this diaspora doing everything to keep this struggle alive have seen death several times before ever getting to where they are today, all in the interest of making back homeland? They are sacrificing whatsoever to keep this liberation movement alive. In whose interest is it more for us to have this homeland? Those who are home or those who are in the diaspora? Feeling good. Think about it. Some of these people who can't have sleep, who are working 6 jobs just because they want to be able to contribute 2,000, 3,000 per month in this liberation movement. Some of them are already citizens of either America, of France, of Britain, of of whatever country. So why do they need to beat themselves? Because these countries are fully developed, have everything that they need. They are respected. They have all the rights. They have access to the best kind of healthcare that all those people telling you back home that the people in the diaspora are a problem all rush to. Yes, all those ministers, those directors, those CPDM section nonsense, all of those people, whether they call themselves senators, they call themselves MPs, like Asongala Gerard here in the United States recently, all of them, they come here to enjoy life. All of them, they come here to buy houses. All of them have sent their children abroad to go to schools so they can have access to the best kind of education and everything. All of them are, where you see them, a good lot of them even have dual citizenship, but they don't want anybody to know. And all of them have passports that are visa ready to fly at any moment and abandon you to your fate. But now look at us. We feel that if homeland is not free, in the interest of all 8 million Southern Cameroonians, then no one is free. This is that diaspora that is sacrificing everything to make sure we have homeland. When they say there is ghost towns, or when La République du Cameroon decides to burn down villages and all of those things, who are those who come together, raise funds to bring succor to these same people, this same diaspora? Let me tell you, if this diaspora did not exist, forget even about this war. Go back before 2016. See, all the families in the southern Cameroon, at least each family has had at least 1 or 2 people in the diaspora. Look at the effect of the presence of those people in each family. Look at what they have been doing. All the big houses, children sent to school, people getting better healthcare, diaspora. This is a fact. Now look at it. La République du Cameroon settled back and noticed that the people of Ambazonia are making sure they take care of the families left behind and are facing this trauma. That's why, despite La République doing everything to create artificial farming in the southern Cameroon, by sending soldiers to destroy crops on the farm, by sending soldiers to remove food reserves, barns, in people's barns, burn them. We saw them take food, scatter, do everything to create artificial farming so that our people will bow to them. It doesn't happen because the children, the families in the diaspora stand in the gap, send a lot of money on a daily basis for the upkeep of everyone on ground zero as we continue to prosecute this liberation movement together. Now, the enemy puts in your head, tell those people in the diaspora, let them come and fight from here, because they want to cut your strength. They know the source of your strength, and they tell themselves the best way for us to handle this, cut the source of the strength, cause them to hate the source of their strength, and then you will have them easily. That's why exasperated La République du Cameroon said, okay, if we can't stop them, let's try to join them in looting, that's in collecting money from what they are selling to their people. That's why they decided to institute that tax on money transfer. That tax on money transfer is targeting the diaspora. Because the Republic of Cameroon suddenly noticed that we have stopped sending money mainly through Western Union, through RIA, through all of those things, uh, through whether it's MoneyGram and all the likes that will pass through their banks and they will collect huge taxes on them. That people are now sending money directly, either through MTN mobile money, Orange money, and all of those things. And so the government of the Cameroon say we have to go down there and tax because they know it's huge sums of money involved. Check it out. It's billions of CFA every year that this diaspora pours on the ground to support you, our people on ground zero. Not just to support those who are fighting, to support each and every one of us. You who are watching me, if you can put your hand on the chest and swear that you have not received anything from the diaspora to survive since this liberation movement started, lift up your finger. Be the first to lift up your finger. My people of Ambazonia, our diaspora is still finding its feet. The day we find our feet, it will become more complicated because we are learning. It will become more complicated for the Republic of Cameroon. That I can assure you. We are learning from what happened elsewhere. The Eritreans have made us understand that sometimes within 1 week they launched a campaign and could raise $2 million immediately to use in prosecuting their liberation movement until they got free. Oh yes. So we are coming. We are organizing ourselves. We have some bad seeds among us, yes, who try to make it seem as if it's a farm where they will tap money. That's why a lot is going on to organize and reorganize ourselves and make sure we return to becoming that formidable force. Like Republic of Cameroon knows what will happen when we get there. That's why they will tell everybody to come here. You are talking. While you are facing it down there, look at these young people. I saw about 3 or 4 pass before my very eyes here. That came through, that is, they landed in Brazil. Went through horrible conditions, went through the jungle. Some of the people who were moving with them even died on the way. Some of them literally felt that they died before resurrecting. After several months, they got to the United States of America. The very first job each of them had, they started asking, I want to send money home. How do I send it? These are people who saw red. But the first thing they're thinking, homeland. Yet, you feel like the diasporans are the worst thing that ever happened to our liberation movement. Thoughts like these ones are the thoughts that La République du Cameroon wants to impress into the minds of our people. I devoted this lot today to address this so that we know, as a matter of fact, despite the glitches we have in our diaspora, the Ambazonian diaspora deserves praise. We have been resilient. We have been courageous. We have been firm. We have been hardworking. The people are taking all kinds of stones. Some are even in jail here for sacrificing to make sure we free homeland. I mean in jail here. There are others that are waiting and are still likely to go in jail, but they go with smiles on their faces because they are convinced that we are doing everything to free homeland. That's why Harriet Tubman said, if only they knew they were slaves, I would have freed many more of them. This kind of thought tells me that this, my brother, and perhaps others like him, have failed to understand what we're involved in. We're involved here in the quest for freedom. That's why I said earlier here that there are some of them who sit there. They are going at the end of the month, earning their salaries. They are occupying their jobs, moving around, calling themselves their big titles in the various cities of La République du Cameroon. And only saying, oh, that struggle has failed. They are waiting anxiously for this freedom, but doing nothing to contribute to see it go. Rather, they stand as spectators and are even ready to mock at those who are doing everything and running bound on a daily basis to set our homeland free. My dear people of Ambazonia, this communication today is intended to prick our consciences, especially those of us on ground zero, that you should learn this kind of language. When you hear it, know it is fabricated from the industry of La République du Cameroun. Of course, I heard it before too, from a communique signed by the moderator of the Presbyterian Church. They even called our liberation quest an illusion. Oh yes, an illusion. What does he prefer? The kind of treatment that our sister from Balinua is talking about. What does he prefer? The kind of treatment that they are giving our brothers and sisters that we saw Mr. Tambetiku Edua rise to the occasion to say, I will stand and fight for them and let anything happen to me. My dear brothers and sisters of Amazonia, it is the current US president, Mr. Joe Biden, who says, we cannot fight against ourselves if we have to beat them. I'm repeating this, I used it before. I'm coming back to it because it makes sense. Something that makes sense, you talk about it over and over and over again. We cannot fight against ourselves if we have to beat them. The objective of La République du Cameroun is to create a rift between those in the diaspora and those on ground zero. That is the objective of La République du Cameroun. You know, if you are doubting, they manifested it or they displayed it on day one. Recall the internet outage? When La République du Cameroun cut internet in Ambazonia for 3 months, the objective was to cut the links between the diaspora and our people on ground zero. Because they know that the backbone of the people, the backbone of this liberation movement, those who enlighten the people on the ground to the effect that you are in hell, are those in the diaspora. So La République du Cameroun has never stopped. They will create all kind of useless, evil imagery, hire people to kill our people on camera with all brutality, and they will even profess that they're Ambazonians. They will not go after them. Because those are the infiltrators in the ranks of our brave hearts, in the ranks of our self-defense volunteers, meant to produce reels for La République du Cameroun to use before the international community to declare that we are terrorists, to declare that we are very bad. They have a good lot of them in the quartiers. Yes, in our various neighborhoods. They have a good lot of them who don't fight, whose only role is they move from place to place, terrorizing people, give money. If you don't give, we'll kidnap this one, go and keep and ask you for money. They come in the name of Ambazonia, but they are not of Ambazonia. They are not. They are La République du Cameroun's agents, dressed in Ambazonian cloth, with a clear-cut objective of turning you against yourself, turning us against our own very quest for freedom. The earlier we understand this, the better. And this message is especially for our people on ground zero, because you need this knowledge. Let me say this. There is no community in Africa that jokes with its diaspora at all, because they know the strength of this diaspora. If you are doubting, go onto Google. Just click on remittance. Foreign remittance into Cameroon alone. Just say Cameroon. I want to see the money fluxes. You see the billions of CFA that leave the diaspora and gets into, especially Ambazonia, every week. I say week. I didn't say every month. I say every week. Find out. That's why the people who do money transfer, you see new outfits are coming up daily, because our brothers and sisters in the diaspora have lost sleep. Some do 3 jobs, 4 jobs, just because they want to have extra money to spend back home to ensure that, from me, an individual, let me help the collective, everybody, so have a better life. Otherwise, a good lot of them are fit enough to die and be buried here. It's even happening. Otherwise, a good lot of us don't need to come back there. Why? We already have all the good conditions out here. But the good people think of their roots. They think of where they come from. They think of the extended families left behind. They think of all those siblings that need care. We think of all those people in our communities that need good schools, that just need a bit of support for their full potential to be displayed. That is why we are fighting for homeland. So all this nonsense of come here and join us, let us fight. Those who went through the jungle in Mexico, they fought a greater fight than even what you are witnessing there. Yes, some actually did die. Some ended in water. Some couldn't make it out of total fatigue and they abandoned there. Some perished in the seas. Some on the deserts. All struggling to come out here, not for a better life, just for themselves, but for themselves and these communities back home, for themselves and for homeland. And the system, he only wants you to be that ungrateful, say, come back here, let's fight, as if everybody is not doing everything to ensure we get freedom where they are. Let us be consequential in our thought pattern. And let us know that from the abundance of the heart comes the character of man. That is by my own definition. Let us learn to tolerate and to love each other, to understand that each and every one of us has a role to play. Let us learn to avoid collective punishment. Because the Republic of Cameroon, when they come into torture, they don't care whether you're a black leg, you're a red leg, you're a blue leg. You heard that young lady say, they come for all they mean. They don't care whose child you are. Whether your father is in the CPDM, your mother is in government or whatever, they don't care. That's why those people will take all their people, send them abroad, and tell you, don't worry, this staying with the Republic of Cameroon is the best thing. But when they are sick, the first thing they run at, they run here. Once they have the least moment, they run here to come and enjoy a good life. The same life they are denying you. The same life those of us in the diaspora are fighting, we should create on the spot so that we will enjoy it with dignity and love. That's what we should bear in mind. This is what we should bear in mind. I like that as you watch me, share this message as much as possible because our people need to know this. We need to set this stupidity to rest. I must apologize if I seemed a bit angry today, but it made sense to, let us understand this so that we know how to treat with one another going forward. Lest we continue to make the stupid mistakes. Lest we continue to fall into the trap set for us by the enemy. Lest we continue to allow the enemy to triumph over us by using us. Like I said here before, Dieudonné Esomba said it on the debate panels on Club They Lead a good lot of times. Use only Ambazonians to fight Ambazonia. Because if you go yourself, you don't know the terrain, you will be messed up. And that's exactly what they are doing, the blueprint that they are using. You allow them to use you, you go and get killed by your own same people who are fighting for your own freedom. You kill some of them, they kill you. At the end of the day, who is enjoying? Like the Cameroon stands and watches. We have to grow up. We have to wise up. This freedom will come. Nothing will stop it. Not even some of the stupid thoughts. But we can make it seamless. We can make it go fast if we will only begin to think straight. To God be the glory.